All right, I'm hotter than a $2 pistol.
Hey guys, welcome back and thanks for joining us for another Maker interview. For this episode, we're thrilled to share with you a chat we had with the always encouraging and insanely inspirational Andy Birkey. Andy, as you may know, is a huge part of the online Maker community and is undoubtedly a guy that everyone in the community would call a friend. As always, we want to remind you that you can watch every Maker interview on our YouTube channel or listen to it on iTunes and Stitcher, or you can stream it from our website. Links to all these are in the video description or the podcast show notes. All that being said, let's get right to it and get to know a little bit more about Andy Birkey. All right. Hey Andy, how you doing?
Hey, how are you, Ryan?
I'm good. Before we start talking about making and YouTube and all that stuff, I wanted to know if you could tell us a little bit about what you do for a living or have done for a living in the past.
Well, I currently have a working shop that I make a living out of. It's shop is kind of the fancy word. It's actually just my garage. So, I've had failed careers at real estate sales, and I worked a liquor store for a year, and I've tried to get away from making multiple times, but it's always drugged me back in, kicking and screaming, and so I've kind of quit fighting now.
Sometimes you got to give up, huh?
That's right. Right.
All the making, building, and tinkering and all that stuff, when did that come into the picture for you?
You know, that's a memory I don't have. It's always been there at some level. Dad was a preacher, so out in the country, so we were constantly working on or building a new, church building. That was kind of the background. He was a finish carpenter before he, got into the ministry.
Yes.
So, it was always there. There was always tools around. We worked on Volkswagen Beetles constantly because they were cheap, and we could rip out an engine and put it back in a matter of hours. And so, tree forts, everything going. It just was always part of life. So
yeah. I think that's how it starts out for a lot of, especially when you're a kid.
Right.
Start out. I remember trying to build go-karts and all kinds of stuff when I was little.
Right, exactly.
And usually they didn't work out too well.
No. Somebody got hurt and went to the ER again.
Yeah. How have your experiences both in making, and I know a lot of people know this, and in your life, shaped you thus far in life?
Well, I mean, it's independence is a biggie, and just that out of the box mindset. People talk about thinking out of the box. Well, there are those of us who don't think in the box. It's the ratios are way off. But I don't know. I live in kind of a weird world between trade and art. So it's kind of a gray area that not a lot of people, are comfortable with, but to me it's life, and it's who I am, not what I do, right?
Yeah. So how do you mix the trade and the art together and still find enjoyment in it? That's an excellent observation and question, because before I joined the online maker community, I was really burned out, and I was just purely working in the shop for rent, for money. Mm-hmm. And I was totally maxed. And really my association with all of you guys, and especially the younger guys, has really, put the fire back in me, and kind of, because I was playing around with a lot of art stuff, anything that wasn't three-dimensional, and especially wood. I was way burned out on working wood. Mm-hmm. And so now, that's kind of all come back full circle, and that's one of the reasons I'm just so amped and so thankful to be part of this community. Cool. You make YouTube videos, as most people we interview do. What made you want to get into doing that?
Stupid David Welder. For those that are listening, David Welder works with Jimmy DiResta in his shop and has an amazing art eye and a crazy. He's so creative. You know, and I was doing a lot of photography work at the time, which he's interested in, and so it's almost like the last 4 or 5 years of my life. There's kind of been this gentle pushing towards hooking up with this community and then into YouTube. So David just told me, he said, "Man, you know, you don't fear what people think of you in real life, do you?" And I said, "No." And he said, "It's the same way on YouTube, man. Just put it out there, and yeah, some people aren't going to dig it, and some people really will." So it's been cool. And, you know, like I say, for me, the other thing is, Ryan, that learning is so huge for me. And cinematography is, I'm a total newbie, and I totally dig that feeling. It's, you know, it's kind of get you're all amped up and get chicken skin and all that stuff sometimes, but I dig it.
I think a lot of the fun in making YouTube videos is getting to do the editing and figuring out how you want to shoot stuff, and it's like half the enjoyment. At least it should be. If it's not, you know, something's missing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, keep it fun, and that's, you know, to me, that's kind of the thing. If it was all about, I don't know, what do you want to call it, money or popularity or whatever people do it for, I don't know. There's other ways to do that, but, you know, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, so it's just, to me, it's about fun, and it's about community, and if anything else comes after that, then that's a bonus. So
yeah, sweet. All right, your Give Me a Minute series. we like it. I like it a lot. What spawned that idea?
That's interesting. That was purely selfish motivation, to be honest. I was feeling the need to put out content. A lot of my stuff is builds and stuff that I can film, or they're long term. So right. I wasn't getting consistent content out to, you know, the people that were following me and stuff. And I was weirding out about editing. So I thought, actually, Wes Swain from geeksmithing.com we were talking, I don't know, about a year ago or so about the concept. And I just finally got to the point where it was like, this is the perfect way to get consistent content out there that doesn't have to be edited a lot. And I can connect with my audience and you know, not be so. I was getting weird in my head about editing and trying to be, you know, produce Star Wars every time, you know. And right. So kind of, you know, just forget it, just strip it down and put it out there. And actually, it's gotten a little more refined as we've gone through 19 episodes now, and it's really been fun to, you know, people will get a hold of me and say, "Hey, man, I got a great idea." So it's kind of almost like what we're doing here is another form of interaction, and so I really enjoy it, and I'm glad to hear other people do too.
Yeah. And it's a great idea. You said something about putting out more content. I know there's a lot of guys that, you know, I'm subscribed to, I'm sure you are too, that I'd like to see more stuff from them. I know it's hard for people to do, obviously, but it's nice to just see more, even if it's some people vlog or like you do your short videos. Those are nice. It's nice to see guys that you like to watch more often.
Yeah, that's a great point, because, you know, at some level we like to see guys make stuff so that we can learn stuff.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, we're identifying with each other personally, and you know, that's important. It's huge. It's what I never expected, this sense of community when I went online. You know, I'd always, you know, you always have these kind of things in your head that everybody's going to be a jerk and hide behind their keyboards and say bad stuff. But I've gotten very little of that. So it's probably because I'm so awesome.
Of course. It's the exact opposite, though, right?
Right, exactly.
This community's insane. I can't understand it, really.
It's amazing. I'm stunned and grateful, that's for sure.
Yeah. That kind of goes great into this next question. Since you're very supportive in the community, and you're very active in the community. So what are your thoughts, maybe a little bit more in-depth thoughts on the community as a whole? The maker community.
You know, the maker community. Here's a quick story, if I could. A long time ago, I was doing some work for a guy who was a vice president of a major city bank down in the Caribbean when I was working down there. And he was looking at me as I was working, and I was kind of like, dude, what's going through your head, you know? And he said to me, you know, don't ever let anybody make fun of you for what you do. Because when the apocalypse happens, guys like you will be eating guys like me for lunch.
Right.
You know, and it sounds like a kind of a goofy story, but it really meant a lot to me because I really admired him, for one thing. And but you know, that's kind of the summation of it is, you know, the skill levels that are represented in the maker community, from, you know, the Jimmy level down to people that are just trying to figure out how a, you know, table saw works safely. Yeah. Everybody's in there and having a go at it, and those skills are, you know, I've had apprentices and stuff in the shop, and I was kind of like discouraged that my craft was going to die, and now I know that was a total wrong assumption. The craft and the love of craft is alive and well in the maker community, and that's so cool to see, especially as a guy who's getting later on. You know, I'm 54 now, I think. You know, I'm looking at the end of my career, and it's really cool to put things out there and see other guys pick it up and be encouraged by it and having a go at it.
Yeah, still hope for the younger generations.
Dang right. Yeah. Dang right. Yeah, big time.
Yeah. What can we expect from you going forward with your channel, just your online presence, everything that we get to watch on a daily basis from you?
Well, my first goal online is to be able to not work for rent, so to speak, not work on my stuff in the shop on Fridays. I'd really like to get to the level of everything coming together where I could replace, you know, basically 20% of my income with online stuff. And if I can do that, then we're going to start to see more and more consistent content of a bigger variety, you know. Yeah. So that's kind of would be like, if I were to be honest about my goals, I'm not a lot more ambitious than that with it. And I realize it might take, you know, a year or two or whatever. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of, I suppose, where my goal is and what I would expect to accomplish.
So basically 20% more and we get to see more of Birkey's face.
Right. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Hey, the community knows it now.
I'll apologize already. So.
All right. I think I warned you about this a little bit ahead of time, that I was going to get a few questions from the community.
Right. Hold on just a second.
Right. They were very generous. They weren't rough at all. The first one is from Eloy. I'm going to try to read these just as they're written. What cultural themes have influenced you in your work, be it movies from the past, art moments, and or music?
I would say art and architecture by far. And the extension of that is traveling through Europe and South America, what I've done there. And just, my wife hates to walk down the street with me because I'm so obsessed with details that are, you know, minor details in architecture that are just absolutely brilliant. And if I've learned anything in my 30 years, you know, very little of that is by chance. It's someone has designed that to evoke a reaction, and that to me is, I just trip out on that all the time. So. Cool.
Oh, I don't know if I mentioned that was from Eloy Escojedo. Okay.
That's a brilliant question, by the way.
Yeah. The next one is from Matt Haas. This is a long one. Let's see if I can get it all here without messing it up. So I saw some short video clips of you at a conference with Vance Maker, and the two of you were fake kung fu fighting. Will you ever create a YouTube video where both of you are in cheesy 80s style kung fu movie with poorly synced English commentary, as if you were speaking Chinese and the English soundtrack was added later? And then he adds, my life won't be complete unless this becomes a reality. Please make this happen.
Well, that's one of my favorite. I don't watch many movies, but one of my favorite genres of movies are kung fu movies and the Japanese Godzilla type films. So it almost has to happen, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sounds like he wants it to happen.
I love it. That's a great idea.
All right, he had another question he wanted to add in, and this was the only ones I was able to get in, but he wants to know if you will ever sleep in.
No.
No.
No doubt. Since I was a kid, I was that little kid that was up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning and was out, with my BB gun or working on my fort or whatever before anybody else was even awake, and my mom would have to call me in from outside to come in for breakfast. Yeah. So, no, I don't see that happening. I've done it a little bit here in the last week just because of jet lag and things like that, but even then, you feel like at 9 o'clock that, you look up at the clock after waking up at 7 and you feel like you've wasted half the day. So,
yeah. Man, is there anything, and there's nothing like being up before the sun comes up. And being up and, it coming up while you're already awake. It's something magical about it.
It's the rebirthing of the world, I think. It's like you get a chance to see the genesis of a new day, which is, to me, there's something just trippy about that.
Yeah, it's a special time for sure. All right, last one here, last couple. We want to give you a minute to do a shout out for any makers you want to maybe let other people know about, give them a little bit of publicity. So
cool.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a guy in Switzerland, Lucas Jenny. His channel is jenni.swiss. It's very small, but he and I have kind of gotten a rapport going over the last, 3 or 4 months. And he's a really cool guy, and he makes some killer stuff. So yeah, check out jenni.swiss, Jenni. Cool guy. And then also in the south of France, I think I'm going to say this right, Gerard, who is Redsmith.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just a creative mind. He lives in Caen, France, and it's cool. I mean, leathersmithing and
yes.
All that stuff that I'm not familiar with. I love to watch it.
Yeah.
And probably another guy who's on Instagram that does some really cool stuff. Very interesting story. Mm-hmm. A guy he's there under Kodama Living, and he's an Israeli guy that was traveling in India and met this Japanese woman, and now he lives in the countryside of Japan, and he's got a shop, and he is blending metal and wood, and it's fascinating stuff. So cool. I dig the backstory,
Yeah.
So yeah, follow Kodama Living on Instagram. It's very interesting guy.
All right, sweet. All right, last one. Where can everybody find you online?
Oh boy, Facebook under Andy Birkey, Twitter Andy Birkey, Instagram Andy Birkey, and probably other places, but Pinterest a little bit. But you can find all those links at blamebirkey.com.
Blamebirkey.com.
Yeah, they're kind of in the header there. So
sweet. All right, man. It was great
cool.
getting to know a little bit more about you.
Big time.
Very, very interesting. So that's it. So thanks a lot for doing this, man.
All right, brother. Good talking to you, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for watching or listening to this maker interview on The Maker's View. Make sure you head on over to YouTube and subscribe to Andy, or seek him out on social media and show him some love. You can find links to all of Andy's stuff, as well as anything mentioned in this episode, in the video description or the podcast show notes. I want to say thank you to Andy for taking the time to do this interview, and thank you to all of you who have watched and listened to any of these interviews, and to all of you who have subscribed and become a part of what we're doing here. Thanks for the love and support, and until the next video, guys, take care.